Welcome back to Live Impact News. I'm Siobhan Riley. The time right now is 7:29. It is so great to be with you on this Saturday. We're going to switch gears, and now we are going to talk CMS. We are joined by CMS School Board member Stephanie Sneed. Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Our CMS chair. We have a lot that we want to talk about today. We are going to talk about the controversial iReady program. That's where a lot of parents had concerns about the amount of screen time that their parents were having. We're also going to talk about mental health when it comes to children in CMS. Also, we want to talk a little bit just about the changes that have been happening with CMS. As you recall, CMS Superintendent Dr. Crystal Hill, she has been placed on leave. There is a law firm that is investigating that right now. And I know we reported yesterday that the CMS board hired a law firm nearly a month before that investigation. Stephanie, I know there's not a lot that you can say. What are the updates right now? Where does everything stand with that investigation?
It is still going. I think that it's only been maybe 7 business days. I think that since she has been placed on leave, but I think what I want people to understand is that the work of the district is going to continue, right? That we are already preparing for school to open in late August. We're getting our buildings ready. We're going to get our classrooms ready. We're getting our educators ready for that. And so even with this pending investigation or ongoing investigation, is that the students are first. So what we're going to do is continue to be focused on our goals, which is student achievement, making sure that our students are on a pathway to be employed, enrolled, or enlisted at the time that they leave Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And that doesn't begin the senior year. That begins the kindergarten year, or not kindergarten year. So this is a K-12 effort, and that we are absolutely committed to ensuring that they have the best opportunities to succeed.
And we did report that CMS hired the law firm investigating Dr. Hill nearly a month before she was placed on leave. Is there anything that you can say about that?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean just because there's consultation doesn't necessarily mean an investigation started at that time. So I do want to make sure that we make that distinction. There's nothing more that I can add at this time, because, as you know, I think most people understand is that we are under North Carolina general statutes that protect personnel matters, and at this time there's nothing additional to report, but at a time that it can be and it's in compliance with the law, then we'll proceed at that as we can.
And the last question I will ask you about that before we move on to iReady, Dr. Hill sent us an email saying that she didn't know the severity of why she was being placed on leave. Is there anything you can say about that?
I don't have anything else to say about that except the fact that, of course, we will make sure that the process is fair and fair to her, and it will be. I mean, that's particularly why we have outside counsel.
All right. Thank you for telling us about that. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the iReady program. I was at that school board meeting on Tuesday, and CMS voted one more year to extend that contract. I know there was a lot of controversy behind that. First of all, for those who are not familiar with the iReady program, can you tell us about the iReady program?
So iReady is an assessment tool. It gives our educators an indication of, or at least some indication and some predictive indication of how our students are performing in the area of reading and math. Very simplistically is like, how well are the children reading? Like, can they read? And so it provides our educators an opportunity to be able to address the specific needs of the children by how they perform on that assessment. So it is a tool in the toolbox of many tools that our educators have.
And on Tuesday, the board, they voted 7-2 to extend that contract for another year. I know that every CMS school board member spoke just about it seemed like everyone had concerns about the program and the amount of screen time. What does everything stand with that vote right now?
So I think what we need to understand is that we're specifically talking about iReady, and that is really not where the focus is. I don't think the concern is particularly with the iReady program itself. There is some concern, but from what I see is that this is being it is a issue that is talking about screen time in general. Like, so everything that happens at CMS does not happen through the iReady application, but that there is a concern, a valid concern from our community about the amount of screen time that students have in a particular day. So what we have done is that because we are a school system of 185 schools, almost 140,000 students, like, we can't just stop and start things without having a plan in place. Particularly what you heard from from our staff is that, if we stop this program, then it will have a direct impact on summer school, which has started, right? And so we need to be able to have measures in place if we're not going to use an iReady. And the alternative, that's why the contract was, there was some modifications. I made the suggestion to modify what has been put for us from the staff is that we don't commit to it long term, but that we commit to it a short amount of time in the meantime while we're able to address the screen time issue, and the screen time issue by grade level, right? Because what is appropriate for a fifth grader is not necessarily the same amount of screen time that's appropriate for a kindergarten. The same thing with a fifth grader may not be appropriate for the same time as an 11th grader. So those things we have to look at in order to be able to make sure that the best decisions are being made in regards to screen time in general, and as well as looking into the iReady program and what are the best tools to make sure that we can assess our students in order to be able to take corrective actions so they can succeed.
And I have heard CMS school board members, and I've even been at the meeting and witnessed pediatricians talking about how students so young are already having issues with their vision. I heard one school board member saying they're not even making it to 15 years old. And one parent at the school board meeting a few weeks back, she said, quote, "I see the physical impacts of screen use in my clinic. Kids have eye strain, headaches, insomnia, back pain, and so much more." And she says a lot of that was once seen in older adults. When you think about that and just the amount of screen time, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm a CMS parent, right? So I have two children. I have one just graduated a couple of weeks ago, but I still have one student that's in CMS schools, and screen time is definitely important in our household, right? So one thing is, should be looking at, yes, the amount of screen time that students have at school, and as well as at home, right? So they're at school, they're at home. We both as partners in the development of youth. And then when I say partners, I mean partners between parents, partners between school system, is that we're making sure that we're regulating that time. So there is a responsibility absolutely on both parts in order to do that. If you recall at our last board meeting, that is exactly what the directive was, right? So I specifically asked for a motion. I was like, look, when we come back in August, we need to know what your guidance is, your new guidance is. And immediately, so staff said that, they needed to take a deeper look and have stricter parameters so that there can be guidance through and consistency throughout our schools, right? Through our school systems, because some schools may be using a particular application or program a certain amount of time and another one may not. So they have committed to coming back before school starts in August at our first board meeting in August to say, hey, these are the guidelines that are going to be rolled out district-wide and by grade level, so that should be addressed. I don't think there's a disagreement here on that this needs to be monitored and addressed. I don't think we're in that place, and when we come back in August, I'm hopeful that we will have something for parents and the board to react to, and that it is more in bounds in supporting making sure that there's interactive time and less screen time.
Any final thoughts you want to add about iReady before we switch gears?
So I think, like I said, I think that I'm looking forward to our August meeting. There were a number of areas that were of concern. If it's an evidence-based, what kind of access to our students' data does this program have? So all of those questions will be answered at our August meeting, so I'm looking forward to that, and I believe staff is going to uphold that commitment. Well, in part, we directed them to come back with that information, so I know that we'll have it come August.
And switching gears, I know that at several school board meetings, I have heard you speak a lot about mental health, especially when we're talking about these young kids in CMS. What is your goal to just combating mental health when it comes to children in CMS? What are you hoping to accomplish?
So I fundamentally am a champion in this, and it's not just uniquely me, it is what the community is called for. Like, I feel like every time that I am in a public space and people are talking to me about students, of course there's the fundamental thing that they're talking about, which is reading, writing, math, like those basic things, being able to be employed and be able to get into a university, a place of higher education. The underlying issue is always, I don't think I've been a place that individuals are not talking to me about the mental health status of our students. Mm-hmm. That is a vision and a value of our community. We have to be responsive to that. And what responsive to that means is that we are recognizing, it's one of our guardrails, right? That we can't forsake children's mental health in accomplishment of our academic goals. What that means simply is saying that we recognize that if the child is not whole, then the chances of succeeding academically is limited. We have to be better and responsive to that, and we have to measure that. We have to know specifically what that looks like. And it's not just necessarily we take a survey and then we do nothing with it, right? So what is next? Like, we take a survey, this is what we know the status of our students is, status of our students are, and how are we supporting that? And I do want to point out something that is very important, meaning that mental health looks different for different students, different school buildings, different communities, right? Because it shows up in one community or one school area of school one particular way. It doesn't look the same in the other. So it can't be so rigid that it is a cookie cutter solution. Like, it has to be responsive to the particular needs of the students, and that is very important to me, is that there's that distinction and that we're measuring it. Like, there has to be some tool to know that how are we supporting students? How many students have we supported? Where our gaps are? We have to know that in order to be able to correct it and to know how we're succeeding at it. And right now we just don't have that, and we need to move towards that.
I remember 2 months ago doing this story about 8 Myers Park students who died by suicide. That was at the time since 2021. Mm-hmm. That was according to reports. That has to prompt a lot of concerns when it comes to mental health. 8 students, that's a lot.
No, it's horrific. Mm-hmm. It's no other word. Like, it is absolutely horrific. Now, do I think that school systems can solve all of the problems? Absolutely not. Do I know that most things that are happening in our communities end up in our school buildings? Absolutely. Do I think we should make whatever efforts we can in order to support our students? Yes. And again, that's my point. Like, so Myers Park had 8 suicides just because, and I don't want to pick a particular school, I'm gonna just say, ABC school. They don't have 8 suicides, but that doesn't mean those students are not suffering. So it may look different than it's manifesting at any particular school.
And as we go into we're already in this summer month. You mentioned kids are already in summer school. Any advice just for parents? Because a lot of kids, they're going to be out of school, and sometimes they may not have that teacher that they can call on and ask for help. How do you handle that during the summer months?
Yes, so there are resources through our website. If there's an emergency, obviously, there's 911, there's 988. as well. And we have partners that information can be filtered through when you just go through our website, particularly the Let's Talk or the Speak Up line or anything like that, or avenues such as that. Even though we're not there at a particular school building, our district offices are still open Monday through Thursday. So there is a particular, so please reach out to a trusted source. And we also have the safe place, like if you see buildings that have safe place on them. And yes, we absolutely worry about the summertime. And that's why it is important, like when we have our partners, such as Mecklenburg County, that have teen events, that have, those opportunities, my encouragement is, if in any way possible, is, and a lot, some of them are free, right? I know that there was a huge, successful teen event yesterday. There was a Raise Splash Planet that was of no cost. And take advantage of those opportunities in order to make sure our children are engaged. And of course, one of the number one things you can do is always please be reading a few minutes a day.
Yeah.
Please be reading a few minutes a day. And that doesn't have to look like traditionally a book, a novel, a poetry. It could be a comic book. And even a tip that I received recently is turn the sound off on the TV for a little bit.
Yeah.
And read the subtitles, right? Just to make sure that your mind is still working and you're still engaging in that reading process.
And before I let you go, we know that Dr. Melissa Bucknight, she is now taking over for Dr. Crystal Hill while this investigation into Dr. Hill continues. What are you hoping Dr. Bucknight will accomplish?
That she's going to make sure that we're on task. We have to stay on task. No matter the surrounding circumstances, internally or externally, that is our number one mission, to make sure that we are supporting our educators, that we're supporting our other staff members. And when I say educators, and I put the disclaimer, there are other staff members, I consider every person that is engaged with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools an educator. Even though you may not be a teacher in the classroom, you're still an educator, because everything filters down to the classroom. And making sure they're supported and understand what our mission is. And our mission is to make sure that our students are successful. So all of those pieces have to be in place in order to be able for that to happen. And so she has to continue to guide the ship in the right direction to make sure that we're focused on the right thing. The main thing is the main thing. All of the rumors and all of that kind of stuff, distractions, complete distractions, because what we need to be focused on is what are the things that we need to do in order to make sure our students are successful, and we're prepared and ready for schools opening in August. It's kind of funny to say that the school just ended, but it is literally almost no break, because we have to make sure we're already preparing for the next school year.
All right. CMS School Board Chair, thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Stephanie Sneed. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.